Great. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, guys. Yeah, yeah, let's start. So I hope a lot of people are working with microservice architecture recently. So I hope currently how many people are using the Microservice architecture? Any idea in the group? Yeah, I hope the recently the Microsoft architecture is growing great, and in the Microsoft architecture we see the lot of network calls inside inside the services. So the network calls may take long time, and it has in the lot of dependencies. We have to do the serialization in the JSONs or XML to convert our data, our binary object into our what the data we are getting. So that kind of things we do, and the major thing we are having the issues is like the delay between the network calls. So gRPC is only made for that reason. So it's gonna reduce the serialization time what we have, and it gonna don't do the any kind of serialization what we have like JSON serialization and XML serialization. What they're gonna do is like they're gonna convert the direct binary object into the type what you are currently working with. If you are using a C sharp files or like a Java, so it's going to directly convert into the strongly typed object, and it's going to directly send the object to the client with the same what we are using. The how they are approach. We have the RPC frameworks is been in the industry more than 2 decades, but the gRPC is growing a lot because of this feature. So if you look into the major features what we have, what exactly the gRPC currently we are discussing about. So what is gRPC, and this is the main agenda I'm going to discuss. I'm going to explain what is the gRPC and how we are getting beneficial using the gRPC, and how it is different from the rest. And gRPC is majorly works on the protobuf, and protobuffers are the protobuf files. So what is the use of the using the protobuf files, and what are the limitations we will get when using the protobuf files? That is the one thing I'm going to discuss about, and the features. What are the features we will get with the gRPC, and what how when you compare with the RESTful services, and how to handle error handling in the gRPC, and how to do unit testing or those kind of things. And we have two kinds of things while you developing in the gRPC frameworks. One is like protobuf first, and another one is like code first. So we're gonna see the samples. Like I developed some code. I'm gonna share with you guys like how I developed and how that is different from the using the protobuf, and what is the advantage of using the protobuf first, and what is the advantage of using the code first approach. And at the end we can compare the different benchmarks. So I what how what are the improvements they did in the .NET 5, and how it is started. The gRPC is major started in .NET 3.1, which is enabled in the HTTP 2, and how much improvement they got in the .NET 5, and how much it is beneficial when you use over the gRPC rather than the rest. And we'll go with any questions after that. So majorly, if you see the gRPC, so it is majorly how if you guys any guys work with the WCF applications, so there's the same pattern. The SOAP services, we have the RPC calls, remote procedure calls. We're gonna call them to get the data. So we use the XML serialization. Like we, if you use the if you are familiar with WCF services, we have the WS document that gonna give you the all the information how the SOAP service is gonna work. So similarly, we have that is going to be the that going to give you the contract. You have to bind the contract, and what is the protocol you are using is a HTTP or like a TCP. But gRPC going to works on the HTTP2. So it is the HTTP2 is majorly developed on based on the TCP protocol. So you will get the beneficial what we have in the TCP, and we have the protobuf file that is going to give you the contract what the gRPC is going to provide you, and the service method name, and the service request object, and the response object, and the request response object structure, and this request object structure. You're going to define it in the protobuf file. So that's going to give you that going to give you the information of how to serialize the object, and what is the method call name, and what kind of method call name. We can do unary operation and the like streaming operations. If you have a multiple request, like if you send an image or like a file, you in the current trend, you have to send the you have to make a HTTP call that's going to give you the object, right? But in the gRPC, you're going to make a stream call to the, from the client to the server. So the stream is going to continue to get the data from the services, and through the client. So that is going to be very beneficial when you're using the through the HTTP pipeline using the TCP protocol. And that is basically the protobuf is the major contract what we have to define, and that's going to be the contract first, and it can be developed in the multiple languages. So if you have a .NET server and that is developed on C Sharp, and you have to connect with the different client that is developed on Java or something. So if you want to make a conversation, because we are sharing the two strongly typed objects, because we don't involve any kind of like a JSON serializer or like XML serializer. So we have to convert the strongly typed object, one strongly typed object to the another strongly typed object. So how we have to convert the major thing is the handled over by the gRPC. So gRPC is like Google developed the one particular file called the protobuf file, and that has some different types. So those types are, and Google also supporting the developing the well-known types. So we can discuss about that one. So those kind of types we are defining how you are converting one language strongly typed object into another language strongly typed object, and we're going to see that is the major reason it's going to reduce the time. So we are not involving any JSON serializer or like a XML serializer. We are directly converting our strongly typed object to the another client strongly typed object, and gRPC going to support the wide range of languages. Like if you go with the Go, Python, Java, C Sharp, and PHP, it's going to support to the lot of well-known languages. So you can develop you can create any server in any language, and you can develop the client in any language. Those going to share the strongly typed object. So that is a major important thing. And the gRPC supports the server to client calls and client to server calls as well as. So current architecture, we have to make, if you want to make a request, the client has to make a call to the server, and the server going to give you a response. But in the gRPC, we have a bidirectional communication. As I just said, we can make a stream operation. So if you want to send the data, you can make a stream operation, and you can do the bidirectional communication in the real-time objects. So that is a major benefits when you use the gRPC, and it has all the features when you compare. The REST is like widely well known. So everyone is in the current trend is using the REST services, but as well as the gRPC supports all the features which is REST is offering, and but it is on top of the HTTP pipeline. That is the one limitation. So if you want to develop the gRPC service, that has to be in the HTTP 2, and as well as it has to call from. It is not going to support from the browser, so it has to call from the another gRPC client. So that currently gRPC .NET is also developing the gRPC web architecture. So you can make a call from the gRPC web, but it is supporting. But you cannot make a call from the browser. You have to be a server. So that is a major thing. And if you compare the HTTP versus HTTP REST operations versus gRPC operations, so HTTP in the REST operations, how we do is like we have a REST webs, HTTP verbs like HTTP get, put, post, delete. You are using those operations to make the CUD operation, but into the normal RPC frameworks, so you have a method in the server. You are directly calling that method with the request object. What is the method parameters you have to give, and you can directly call to that method, and you can get the response how our WCF services and everything going to work. And in here we are using the contract. We are defining all contracts inside the protobuf file. So that's going to give you the structure of the of your contract, and the method name, and the object, and request object, and response object. But inside the HTTP verbs, you're going to send the you are using the HTTP verbs to make a call, and you are getting the response to make the CUD operations. The major communication happens inside the REST services. We have the JSON files and the XML files, but if you see the gRPC, the major communication happens inside the binary data, which is human cannot read those binary data, because that is only machine readable code, and that we don't involve in the any serialization. So that is improving the performance as well as. And the communication applies only the client to server, as I said, but in the gRPC we can have the bidirectional communication. And the payload size is going to be the higher when you compare to the gRPC, because of we have to convert our whole data into string format, and we have to send it to the JSON or like XML, and we have to send it out through the another client, and another client has to have another serialization object, and they have to convert into their strongly type object. But if you see, we are just including the only binary data, so the payload is very, very less. And if you compare like around like 5 times less than the when you compare it with the JSON or XML data. And it has the REST has the default browser support, but if you have to make a gRPC call, you have to be called from the another gRPC client. so it is not going to support from the browser. We have a gRPC web support using the like Blazor assembly, and you can do that one, but it's not going to call from the any browser. And it is the major REST is works on the HTTP1 and HTTP2, but gRPC works on HTTP2 because of the TCP. It supposes the TCP protocol to the bidirectional communication, but we have the default feature. So you have to use on top of the HTTP2. You can deploy it onto any IaaS or like any servers which is support to HTTP2. Microsoft is also updated their IaaS to support the HTTP2, so you can deploy your application gRPC services on HTTP2 as well as. If you see the REST operation calls response, how it's going to be in the like our developer tools. So this is the preview response when you make a call from the RESTful endpoint. So it's going to give you the data. But if you see the preview of JSON response, so the JSON response is a binary object. So that only machine can read this language. No other human cannot read this language. And that is a major difference if you see. And if you see the I'm mentioning the protobuf files. That is I'm going to discuss. We are discussing right now. The protobuf files is what making possible to communicating with the two different languages. So if you have two different languages, strongly typed objects, protobuf file going to define you the contracts and the message types and the response types. So you have to define all your messages over there. And that what the message pattern you're looking, the binary object going to see those message pattern, and then it's going to serialize into the strongly typed object you defined. So we have a widely range support for all the message types, but there are limitations I've seen. And if you see, like, we don't have a wide all the types which we defined in the C# and the Java. So if you see in the C# we have a datetime, and if you come to the Java, we have timestamp as well as, but we are missing those kind of some types, and the decimal types, we are missing those types. We have an alternative to use that one, and we can do any other question. Okay. So we have a, so protobuf file is going to involve the serialization structure, how it has to be and what are the types you have to define. And another one is like, it is pretty similar to like how you can define the objects inside the any strongly typed object. So you can define the strongly typed object inside the protobuf file, and it has the ordinal number that you're going to use to serialize your object. And it has a strongly typed object, and you can define, and it has some types of strongly typed types you can define to define your own object, and you can create over there. And it has support to enums and everything. And so we if you see, let's come here. If you see, we have this message object, the protobuf file, how it looks. So this is the person object currently we have. And if you see, we have a string type, it is ordinal number is 1, and the integer type ordinal number is 2, and the email type ordinal number is 3. I created an enum, it is called phone type, and the enum is how exactly the strongly typed object is going to support the same type. We have a value, and the value of the enum value we defined. So if the mobile is 0, and it is not the ordinal number, it is just an enum value. And the phone number, it has the two things. One is the number, and the another one is phone type. So the 1 and 2 are the ordinal numbers we keep. So if you see, we have a repeated, that is for the list of operations. And if it is the timestamp, it is for the datetime object in the C#. How we use, we have the same defined. But the timestamp object, it is not inside the protobuf types. Google is supporting for the wide range of types. I'm going to show you what are the types we have. The Google is supporting, and we have around like all types of types. All the well-known types. So if you want to get a type, you have to import the type, and that if you look into the timestamp, that is coming from the google.protobuf.timestamp. So, and we have an address book, and that is the whole list of the peoples, and that is the order number 1. So how many ordinal numbers we can keep? We can keep at large of like 5,000, 536870911. That is the largest number we have to keep, the ordinal number. We cannot use from the 1900 to 19,000 to 19,900. Those are reserved by the protobuf implementation. And you can use 1 to 209. I hope we cannot cross those limits, but how many ordinal numbers you keep in one set of object, that's going to decrease your performance. So how minimal your object is going to be, that is better to the improve your performance. That is a major key feature for the protofiles. The protofiles is the and we have, every language has the code generation support for the protofile. So if you are using the protofile in the .NET inside the .NET, the .NET client going to generate the all the strongly typed objects, and all the server needs the types what we need for the objects that going to generate over there. So the major features we're going to discuss in this demo are like error handling and the interceptors and the testing. We have a different kinds of test. We can do the unit testing with the gRPC. How we are doing with the RESTful services, we have web host builder. You can mark web host builder and you can do the servers. Similar way, we have the unit testing feature for the gRPC, and we have a reflection pattern that's going to help you to make the read your all the services and everything from your. I can give you a demo. And we have error handling, well-known error handling in gRPC, and we have interceptor like logging interceptor, like authentication interceptor. So how we are doing in the RESTful services, you have a middleware, so you want to authorize or like you want to log something in the middleware. You can do the same pattern inside the gRPC as well as. So you can include any login services or like any authentication services using the JWT tokens, or like we can use the certificate authentication as well as inside the gRPC. Let's go to the demo. Any questions so far? Okay. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay. Let's begin. Starts with the scratch so that you can guys have the idea. It's taking time. Okay. Just sample project. I'm using .NET 5. But this one, we can do the same thing with .NET 3.1 as well as. The 3.1 has the they started on 3.1. The .NET has the code generation pattern. They're doing very great, but in the 3.1 they have a lot of code which you don't need the library size. So they trim a lot of things in the .NET 5. So you will see a lot of improvements in the .NET 5.1, 5.0 in the gRPC framework compared to the .NET 3.1. Okay. So if you see from the files it is generated, let's start from here. From the start. Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my mic went off. Okay. It is how .NET Core applications, everything is pretty much similar. So we have a host builder, and that we're going to use the startup file to create our host. And if you go to the startup.cs file, so the major feature is like adding the gRPC registration. So if you add the services, all the services needed in the gRPC using the add gRPC method, which is provided in the library called ASP.NET Core gRPC. So this is a whole library that is we need to develop the gRPC in the .NET Core. So this one has the .NET gRPC tools and the lot of additional packages that are going to do the code generation and everything. I'm going to show you what the code is going to generate. And the services is, okay.
I'm sorry, would you mind bumping that, just the zoom in just a bit on that? You're at 90% right now.
I don't know if you
okay.
can put that to, I've got it on my TV, but it's still kind of hard to see. Thank you.
Is it okay, or like, do you want to increase?
Maybe you can go up to like 125 or
Okay.
something. There
Thank
go.
you.
Is it good? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So if you here in the the regular .NET Core applications, how we have to register our services and map our HTTP pipeline to use our services. So the same pattern we have for the gRPC. So we have to add all our registration services in the by using the add gRPC method, which is provided in the library ASP.NET Core, gRPC ASP.NET Core. And if you add that one, and you have to map your endpoints, which we here. So this is the service is gonna generate all the code. So when you add the profile, let's go to the profile and see how it looks. So this is the C# namespace it's going to use, and this is the name of the C# namespace which is generated in the profile, and this is the profile name. The package is going to be. The service is going to, how we define the service is using the RPC call. So RPC and the method name and the request object and the response object. If you see the request object, it is a strongly typed object, and we are defining using the message, a keyword, and the hello request. And we have a one single property here with the name, and another, the response object is going to be this string of message. That's it. So this is a pretty simple object to define the profile. So if you want to add any additional thing, you can do like int32 and some ID. You can do that one as well. But every time you add the new property, you have to give the ordinal name. So that's gonna give you the how to deserialize or serialize your object. So the profile gonna know how to serialize and deserialize object using the binary data using these ordinal numbers. So these are the crucial points. And if you increase, you can you have more than the number is pretty high. You can increase how long you want to. You can compose your object how big you want to be. And there are the support for the types, and there are a lot of types we are missing. So if you come to the .NET, we have a decimal type, and there are like I'm going to open the documentation to present you to see the types we have. So if you see here, we have the different languages have the different types. If you come into the C# double, so it is not the same as the Python type, and we have the C++ and Java type and the PHP types. There are the languages types and the different types we have it, and we gonna miss the lot of types. If you see, we don't have a decimal type. That is a major decimal type for the precise objects like the dollars or like money things we're gonna use. We don't have that kind of objects. We have that limitation. If you want to develop something, then the Microsoft is working hard to create all the well-known types we have inside the C#, and it's gonna add in here. So you want to know all the well-known types we have. So this is the major page for to look into all the well-known types currently we have. We have a timestamp that's gonna same as the date time, and we have a null value that's gonna same as the void, and we have a lot of types. If you want to create an enum, if you have to create an empty object, that's going to be the void as the same as the things, same as the different types we have it. And the types, these are the types which is protofile is going to give you. And if you want an additional type, you have to import it from the third party, like from the Google well-known types. So you can find all the types in here if you want to the JSON type and everything. So these are the two documentation if you want to work with the types in the gRPC. And this is the major documentation the Microsoft is supporting for the how to work with the gRPC and the performance and the configuration and everything. This is if you want to look into it, this is the best way to look into it. So let's start from where we left. So we have a gRPC service, and using this profile, our .NET gRPC tool is going to generate the code. So if you go into the code generation, what we have, this is the whole code that is generated by the profile. It is pretty big, yeah, but you're never going to use it. We have a one method inside the RPC call, that is the RPC say hello. So if you open the services, we have an override method that is already generated in this inside the base class. So you can override this one and you can do all the operation what you have to do, and it is going to support to the dependency injection because we register our services over there. So you can add the any object you want to, and you can do the constructor injection here. So it's going to support the constructor injection as well as, and this is a pretty simple thing. We will get the request from the object, and what is the request name we provided, and we're just appending here. When you try to start this service, it's not going to support because of we don't have support to make a call from the, like, we don't have Swagger URL and those things, because of it is not going to support on the browser level. So if you run this application, you will see a message saying, okay, let's open this one. So communication with the gRPC must made through the gRPC client. To learn more, there's a link that is coming from what we register here. This is what it is giving from there. But if you want to make a client, we have a different clients is supported. There are outside, we have a different libraries. You can generate the client and directly. So if you see here, we have a gRPC UI and gRPC curl. So gRPC curl to make the command line operations, and gRPC UI, another client, you can generate like a Swagger kind of UI using that one. To enable the gRPC UI, you have to enable the reflection pattern, which we discussed about. So the reflection pattern, what it's going to do is, like, it's going to give you the all the information about the services and the types. So it's going to decrease your performance. So it's better to use inside only the developer environment. So to add the reflection pattern, you have to include another NuGet package called gRPC core.reflection. This is the package is going to give you the all the reflection services, all the code to generate the reflections. So if you include this one, sit down. Let's wait. Add gRPC reflection to add it, and I'm going to choose. So there are steps to add the gRPC UI as a command line. You have to install that file. I'm going to send you the link for the gRPC UI library. I already installed it, so I'm going to open here. So I have gRPC. So I have the gRPC UI. So there are a lot of commands you can do with the gRPC UI command. I'm gonna just run this service. So it's gonna give you the pretty UI. So this one has the all the service name. Currently we have only one method saying say hello, and if you have multiple services, it's gonna give you the multiple services what we have, and it's gonna give you the what the method we have. And the metadata is the similar like headers we have, and you can use it here if you want to add it. And the request object, we have only name, and you can provide, I'm just giving my name, Chandu. And if I invoke it, so you will see the message, hello Chandu. And if you go to the request object, you can do the all the requests which you made it, and you can do the pretty JSON format. And this is a pretty good kind of like Swagger. I liked it when you work with the gRPC UI. This is pretty helpful to work with the to develop a client rather than the client. You can use this one. Otherwise, we can develop our own client as well as we're gonna create another client from here. I'm just adding another console project so that we can convert it as a client. So yeah, manage to get. So this is a major package we needed to work with the gRPC. This has a lot of libraries which we don't need it sometimes, but it's better to have all of them. If you want to trim your libraries, you can use the server and you can use the just client factory to trim your libraries. But I'm just using all of them right now. And one thing is like you need the protofile to work with the client. And so I'm just adding in a protofile here. I just want to maintain one single source of truth. So I'm just adding sample proto of them and add a link. So that. I just rebuilt it. So currently it's going to generate, we added this file and you have to change the property. So currently it has the client server. The gRPC gonna give you the three different options. One is the client only and the server only and the client server. If you're having the protofile only specific to the only for the types, then you're gonna give it as a do not generate, so that it's gonna import it into your major file and you can use it that one. And the server only is gonna only for the server. The client only is only for the client. The client server is gonna use for the both of them. So I'm just using the client only right now. And that is the important property you have to mention when you're adding or like when you're dealing with your protofiles. So to connect to gRPC, we need a channel. So we have a just using my host URL. So this is the service address. Yeah, you can use it as a configuration variable and anytime. And I'm just you need a channel, and using that channel, you can create a gRPC client. Create client, and it needs a channel object. So just draw the channel. And client has one method, hello and hello async. If you want to make a synchronous object, you can use the hello, and if you want to make it asynchronous, you can make the hello async. I'm just use it because C#7 onwards we support to main as an async task. So I'm just printing the response message. So let me start this one. build fast. So the same response we see from the gRPC UI, we'll get from our client as well as. So this is the same thing. So I just created a console client. You can, if you have a different client, like one service is calling the another service. In the Microsoft architecture, we do a lot of the remote calls using the one service to another service. This is the where place we can beneficial in the network time and the load of the our object. So that's going to reduce. So this is how to create a client, simple client and the simple service object. And this is a simple demo, and I have the whole big project I created for this demo. I just want to show you. Let's go with the client. So if you see here, and let me open the portal file. So if you see this object, basically, so I have one single method calling the RPC call, that is to get weather forecast. That is the traditional old .NET REST API, what it's going to give you. So I just use the same object to create that one. So inside that one, I have the weather forecast, list of the weather forecast. So you can create the list using the repeated keyword. And I have the weather forecast object. Inside the weather forecast object, I have the well-known type is a timestamp. That is you currently I'm using as a date time. And I have the temperature as a time integer and the summary as the string. And I defined the ordinal numbers, the 1, 2, 3. So that's going to give you the how to deserialize and the serialize the object. And I'm using the request object uh, as the another one. And if you see the every object has their own ordinal number starts with. So this object, this message has their own ordinal number 1, and it is using the weather forecast. And if you go here, and it has the intelligence as well as. So if you go here, it's going to use 1, 2, 3 for this one, this kind of object. And I'm just using the request object as the number of counts I want to return, and I'm using the response object, the weather forecast, which is I'm generating right now. So if you go to the services, it is pretty similar. If you generate the any traditional old .NET REST API services, so it's going to give you the same thing. It has the freezing, bracing, and those are the summary list of the weathers we have. And I'm just looking for the count. So if you have a count around like more than I'm requesting for, then it's going to give you the exception. So this is how you can raise the RPC exceptions in the gRPC. So this one has the status code. This is going to give you the information of what kind of exception it is. So it has a bunch of status codes. How we have the HTTP status codes, like for the error 401, 401, and 500 series, we have the aborted and already existed and cancel, and those are the status codes we can define here. And I'm just using out of range. And we have the range object that is going to create a new every time. And this is the whole thing to create the number of return, number of count I'm requesting for, and then it's going to return the number of objects. And I'm just returning the results. This is a pretty simple implementation for the gRPC, and you can see. And for my client, if you go to my client, I'm just calling that object, and I'm using the two different libraries. One is ASP.NET Core, and another one is the console tables that are going to give you the pretty view for the console objects, if in a format of table. So, and if I'm run this one, So I'm getting the 100 count. I'm just because I'm making the hard coded value over there for the 100. And this is the view I was just telling about the console tables. So I just got the response from the server and it is pretty fast. That's it. It is a simple implementation. And for that part, I have this whole code inside the GitHub. So anyone wants to access and you can access it. I will share that on the link. And if you look into the gRPC features, so this is the major features I was talking about. So in normal traditional microservice architecture, we need the health check very much because of the any services failures and anything service went down and those kind of things. So gRPC supports the very much in the health check operations as well as, and it supports the interceptors. How you want to add an interceptor? Currently, I created a logger interceptor and I created another. I created a logger interceptor, and we are using the health service operations, and we are using the reflection pattern to connect with another Swagger clients. And currently, if you see, we can have the multiple compression operations as well as. So if you want to compress your request object, and you can do the what kind of support it's going to give you, and those all things. And you're going to specify over here. This is pretty much about. And gRPC also support the WebAssembly for the gRPC web. So that is inside of this library, ASP.NET Core WebAssembly library, ASP gRPC Core Web. So this is going to give you the access to the web-based gRPC clients. So, and let's go back to the weather services. So this is the same implementation. This one I just want to mention. One thing is like you can use this same application to develop the gRPC services and the RESTful services, and that is only the difference. So currently in my services, we have the I have the MVC RESTful endpoints as well as the gRPC service endpoints. So you can configure both at a time in one single application. So if you have already existing application in the .NET Core and you want to implement the gRPC, you don't have to implement a new services, and you can use the just that application and enable the gRPC out there, and you can use that one. And the health check pattern is going to give you all the results what you need it, and it's going to enable the health check at the end, health check / health check endpoint. Let's go back to the testing. And if you look into the testing, so I created a. So if you go back to the services, weather forecast services, we have this server call context. So this is the major server call context, how we have the web, I host web builder inside the gRPC in ASP.NET Core. This is the whole server configuration is going to give you to serialize and deserialize the object. So we can mark this object using for your test, unit testing and those all things. So that is already provided in the gRPC test packages. And if you go into the gRPC test, so I created a fake call context. So that's going to provide you to run the unit test cases and develop the unit test cases here. So currently in my services, I'm just passing the null logger object and I'm just testing that one, the object is returning the count properly or not. So these all things you can do with the gRPC. You can do the testing from your using the gRPC UI, and you can do the unit testing from your application for the quality of your application to improve your pipeline. Those all things. And the major feature I just want to talk about, the final thing, is the code first approach compared to the gRPC proto first approach. So currently we saw how we developed using the protofile. So the advantage of using the protofile is you have it two different client in two different languages. So you have a Java client and you have a .NET client. You want to convert, you want to make a call from the Java client to the .NET server. So you don't know the types what it defines. So the best way to use is the protofile at the time. So you can have the common contract based application using the proto. But if you come into the code first approaches, so I just defined all the contracts right here in one single interfaces. So we have two different attributes. One is the services contract that's going to give you the what are the services we have. and the operation content, that is the methods we have, the what is the operation is going to be. And I have the same request object that is going to use the data content as a serialization object, and it has the same data member. You have to provide the order number, what it has to be. And I just implemented the read-only property, which you cannot do inside the gRPC, inside the gRPC protofile. And you can create any kind of types which is .NET support, because you have the same client and the same server services, so you can use the same thing. This is only the implementation details. Is the difference is like the community is developed using the protobuf.net gRPC. It is well managed, and it is continually growing, and they are developing this library. So this is going to help you to develop the code first approach. So that is pretty much similar how we have to create the gRPC. Just have to add code first gRPC, and that's it. Just map your endpoints. And if you go to the services, I'm just using the same regular implementation what we have in the previously. And in the main method, there is the same way we are calling. I'm just making the tool. I'm just using the same library for to share the code. So I created this, and you can create as this one as a NuGet package, and you can reference that one. And I just use that one inside the code first object, and the shared object, the types what I needed. And I just provided the same information what we have, create the gRPC services, and that's it, using the code first approach. This is the way how you do it in the code first. That this is gonna beneficial when you have the same client and same server, and you don't have to worry about the types you missing, and you don't have to worry about the operation. You can have the all the features which you do in the RESTful services and everything. So that is the major advantage, and you can do the bidirectional calls as well as. And the last piece of my thing is like I made a comparison between the .NET gRPC with the Web API and .NET 5 and .NET 3, making a call. And let's run these all projects. Okay, sorry. I think something is using 5001. Let me close that.
Is still
Another
debugged?
project. Yeah, I think I opened another project which is using the, yeah, this one. I have to stop this one. So we have everything is running. Yeah. So Is this visible? Number of fonts size 28. Okay. So if you see the data size inside the Web API, it is almost like 5 times of the data size when we have in the gRPC. And the network time, if you see the network time, what we have inside the Web API, it is 63 seconds. It is half of the time what we have in the network. And if you see the deserializing time, it is almost like 4 times of the current .NET 5. So the .NET 3.1 has the deserializing is pretty slow, but it is performing very well. But there are a lot of libraries which we don't need it inside the .NET 3.1 where they are developing. It is not mature at the time. In the .NET 5, they trimmed a lot of libraries and it is performing really great. If you guys want to use the gRPC, I will suggest to migrate to .NET 5 and use it. You'll see a lot of features, a lot of beneficial features over there. And that almost the network time and the data size is going to reduce almost 5 to 4 times compared to the Web API. So I'm currently making 10,000 request objects in my client. The same thing you guys. The return count is going to be the 10,000. I'm just requesting for the 10,000 objects. The same implementation you saw for the gRPC, but I'm just comparing with the .NET and Web API and gRPC .NET 5 and 3.1 with Web API. So there are a lot of improvements in the .NET 5, and it is going to be very beneficial in the process of the Microsoft architecture, and you are making a lot of remote calls to the services. So this is going to be beneficial at that point, and this is majorly focusing on to improve those performances. So hope you guys learned something and enjoyed it. Yeah, this is going to be the end of my session. If you guys have any questions, yeah, feel free to ask.
I have one question.
Mhm.
Do you know if Microsoft is going to support GPRC in app services? I believe they
Yes.
don't support it currently.
They are not supporting. They have a plan to support it. Yeah, in the app services, and they are currently, I believe, in IAS also they are supporting to deploy the gRPC services, and they have to plan for that one in the Azure App Services. Yeah, you can see that one.
Do you have any idea of timeline for when they'll support it in app services?
I think I don't have a timeline, but
Okay.
I think I read the documentation somewhere in their blog. They are going to support it. Yeah, I think I read that one. I don't have exact timeline for that.
Yeah, just curious if they've reported anything new. I know about a year ago I checked and they hadn't yet. So
What's
Yeah.
the limiting factor there? Why wouldn't it?
it's the response headers. They have something with the response headers that they can't handle within an app service. I don't know those details.
I think it's actually part of the HTTP2, how
Oh, that might be.
HTTP2, there's a lot to it, and I just don't think they implement enough of it in order to work with gRPC.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know if it
HTTP
works
is
in
like a
function app?
Yeah, function app, I'm not sure about it. Yeah, that is going to be serverless architecture, so I don't think so they're going to support it, but I'm not sure.
I think .NET 5 is having trouble with function apps as well.
Yeah, I don't know about the functions, but I read something about the app services, so I'm pretty much sure of it. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not sure about the function apps.
Yeah, I just wondered if there's anything changed on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And in .NET Core 3.8, 1 year back, we don't have IAS support as well as for the gRPC. So they recently added IAS support for gRPC. So maybe I'm expecting the same thing for the app service as well as. Yeah, in the 3.1, they don't have support for that one. Yeah,
Are you using this in any production environments?
No. Not yet. We are planning to. We are holding back for the upgrading of .NET 5. We are directly going to upgrade it to .NET 6. So after that one, we have a plan to migrate it, maybe in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We have long-term support in the .NET 6, I believe, so that's why.
Yep. Yeah, I have the same thing.
Yeah, interesting. Any other?
So the code generation that you got in there, that was an artifact of pulling in the package, creating a protobuf file, and then changing the build
Yeah.
action.
It's not a build action. If you see the proto file that has a property of gRPC, they need that is going only for the proto files.
Okay.
Yeah, that is only gRPC subsection has a gRPC stub classes. So what kind of classes you want to generate it, that is based on this.
Okay. So the NuGet package pulls in a tool that
Yeah.
that
The
mod.
gRPC tools, yeah,
Okay.
that has it, yeah. Inside this package, ASP.NET, okay, sorry. gRPC, ASP.NET package, gRPC tools, this is the package
Yep.
which helps to generate the tools, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. What other questions do we have for CK?
I'm not sure if it's really for CK, but I just, discussion point is, what's the chances of this becoming a new, WFC or some other,
WCF.
yeah, sorry, thank you. WCF. What's the chances of this becoming a new WCF or something that's going to, maybe great for a little bit, seems great, but then the complexity of actually using it in a environment and the tooling never really quite matures enough to catch on.
Yeah, I had the same fear, but this is going really great inside of the Go libraries and Java platform. Google is really working a lot on the gRPC because of their remote calls to reduce the time on them. So I hope Google gonna keep on support for the gRPC they are using a lot. But I don't know about the Microsoft. Is they're gonna still continue, or like they're gonna come with a new framework, like how I see OData and Facebook's query library, what is it called?
I think
The same feature I'm expecting. Yeah.
WCF was a lot more than what we're seeing here. This is really just one component of what WCF had, would be the serialization component that was in there is really what we're looking at here. But WCF offered different transport protocols and security protocols,
Bindings.
different bindings and all that stuff in there. So I don't think we'll ever see that all in one platform again. I mean, this is my opinion, I guess, but you'll probably see those things come as different packages that you can install.
Combining Dapper with GPRC does have a big following, and distributed. There's more distributed computing in our future than there is in our past, right? So that's something to consider. Are these going to be building blocks that we can leverage for the future? Sure, they're not mature yet. These are things that are still being worked on, but it definitely could be platform or framework level capabilities that we just depend on in the future to do distributed computing.
And I think gRPC, I mean, WCF was built on SOAP, and SOAP, I mean, it was popular in Java and .NET communities, but didn't really have a lot of following outside of there. WCF was, of course, just .NET only, but I think gRPC, it's got a growing following in the .NET world. It's real popular in languages like Go, and it's got a lot broader. So hopefully we'll continue to see it evolve and get even easier to use.
Yeah, actually, the .NET is pretty lag on that one. The Java and those all platforms has a gRPC in 2015. .NET added on last year, I believe, before year 2017 or 2018, I think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have .NET is behind compared to the other platforms, but yeah, it's keep growing. I hope we're gonna see a lot in gRPC in the future. The major key feature is like the binary serialization. That is a major key feature for the gRPC. So
When we see it in JavaScript, then we'll know it's everywhere, right?
yeah.
Cool. Any
Yeah,
oth-
I'm
anything
gonna
else?
share these links here.
Yeah, please do that. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you, Chandu. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah, great presentation.
Yep.